Y'all, just point out a couple of cool things I seen in the news reels over the weekend. Down here, local in Catskill, Cairo area, upstate New York, we do have a case that's going on right now where about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I happened to be at the town park and I saw the LifeNet helicopter coming in, and we took a big video of that and put it online, and there was a lot of feedback from that. I didn't know who was on it. I was explaining to my boys what LifeNet is, and for those of you who don't know what LifeNet is, it's a helicopter that comes from Albany, and anytime the LifeNet helicopter comes into an emergency situation, I am a volunteer firefighter in the East Durham, upstate New York. Whenever those LifeNet helicopters come in, your odds of surviving whatever trauma you're going through significantly increase. Instead of taking an ambulance 45 minutes up to the hospital, you're on one of the most state-of-the-art helicopters with the most state-of-the-art life-saving technologies on board, and you're in Albany in under 10 minutes, and you can be flown to anywhere. You know, if you receive trauma, fire trauma, I think goes to Westchester or Rochester. They have trauma centers for fire there. That's the LifeNet helicopter. 10 years ago, when they started getting big, we went to a kind of like a show and tell. Like, they landed the helicopter, they told us all about it, all the stuff that was on board. Big time, big time. Anyways, I stopped to show my boys the helicopter landing, and then I cut it off when the person that they were medevacing out came in. You know, that wasn't the point to showcase who was going on the helicopter. It's just showing my boys what the helicopter actually does. And turns out it was a little girl, a little 3-year-old girl that had been beaten to death by her mother's boyfriend, and the mother for some reason left the little girl with this boyfriend, and some turmoil in town and stuff. This guy was like a punk. I think he's from Rochester or something like that, and had an arm's length worth of arrests going all the way back, to when he was 18 or something like that. And I think just recently, like 6 months ago, he got arrested for jerking off in the public library, right down in town. That's somebody I'm probably not going to leave my kid with. And then apparently, like, I heard this I don't know if it's real or not, but I heard that after the mother pulled the plug on the 3-year-old, she was out the next night partying and clubbing up in Albany. And then I was actually looking into the incident because I hadn't heard anything about it, and I had talked to a few people up there, and they said, to be honest with you, they should have pulled the plug a while ago, because she's brain dead. She's never going to come back from it. She was beaten so severely that, she's just being kept alive and basically like a constant state of pain. I'm sure she was under, but I'm sure anybody feels pain when they're under like that after being beaten like that. And I couldn't figure out why. And apparently the reason why she was alive for so long as a brain dead vegetable is because her mom didn't want her boyfriend to be arrested and charged with murder. At that point, he was only being arrested for beating the shit out of a 3-year-old. He wasn't being charged with anything else because mommy was still keeping the baby alive. Once she finally, I think there was a deal between the baby's father. The baby's father had to come in and take over rights and sign some paperwork and say, please let my daughter pass away. She's in a constant state of pain, and fear. I imagine you'd be in fear if you weren't able to come out of a coma because somebody beat you into it. Either way, the father stepped in and pulled the plug, and when he pulled the plug, then the guy got arrested for attempted murder, or whatever the charge is. Hopefully, he's at the local place here, and they're tuning his ass up on a nightly basis. Now he's come out and said that he didn't do that. Yeah, I don't believe that. I know you're innocent until proven guilty in this country, but I'm leaning towards guilty on this one. And to be honest with you, I think they should charge the mother too. You chose to leave your baby with this monster, and I'm guessing this is not the first time it happened. There's probably a lot more that we're going to find out in the days and weeks to come about how much trauma and abuse this little girl was going through. And I feel terrible about it. I have kids. I understand completely. Another thing I wanted to point out, I seen this interview that Trump did yesterday with some chick from Japan, and one of the reporters reached out and was like, how come you didn't tell everybody that America was going to war with Iran, and you didn't give everybody a heads up? And he kind of battled back like two lines, and he said, how come you didn't tell us about Pearl Harbor before you guys attacked? I thought that was hilarious. I mean, there's an obvious reason why they didn't tell us, because they wanted to be a surprise. That's probably the reason why Trump didn't tell anybody else that he was going to Iran. All the indicators were pointing towards it, but probably the reason why he didn't tell anybody is because he wanted to be a surprise to Iran when they got there. And then a little bit of more local news in my area here. Aunt Kathy Hochul, who is just a bumbling idiot, I feel. She decided in, it was like 2021, 2022, when everybody was getting out of New York, all the rich people, all the people who made millions are all fleeing and flocking down to Florida. She said, go ahead, take a bus, get out of here. We don't want your kind here. She said, we don't need you here. Well, turns out yesterday she was doing some kind of Politico thing, and she said, hey, listen, we would really appreciate the millionaires who are donating to our social programs to go down to Palm Beach and see if they can wrangle up some of them people and bring them on home. Bitch, you said that we didn't need you. We don't need your money. You guys go to Florida. Now, a couple of years later, well, our tax base is eroded. We really need some of those rich people to come back. Well, what did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to... You said go. They were already on their way out. Do you really think they're going to come back now? I imagine they're living the high life in Florida. I wish I was. Man, I'm getting tired of all the cold and the rain and the snow and the everything going on here. It is just, man, it is not breathtaking. I'll tell you that. All right, y'all. We'll catch you all later. I'll let you know what grinds my gears next time.